Targon is currently the second largest claimed revenue subnet on the Bittensor network. They're pitching a massive technical edge for AI inference, hardware-encrypted confidential compute. But for anyone looking to allocate capital here, you face a major dilemma. The entire valuation of this subnet rests on a single, self-reported revenue claim of $10.4 million. To understand how they arrived at that number, we have to look at the technology driving the pitch. This flowchart shows how their architecture works. Layer 1 is Intel TDX. It creates a cryptographically isolated environment directly on the CPU, locking out even the host hypervisor from reading the data. Layer 2 extends that protection. Nvidia confidential computing encrypts the data as it travels across the PCIe bus and sits in the GPU memory. From the moment your prompt enters to the moment the response leaves, it stays encrypted. Finally, Layer 3 wraps the whole stack. The proprietary Targon virtual machine coordinates the workload scheduling across multiple decentralized nodes. Normally, decentralized AI asks you to send your data to a node operator you don't know, hoping they aren't malicious. With hardware attestation, you don't have to trust the operator at all. You can cryptographically verify you are talking to genuine hardware, reducing your trust assumption down to simply trusting Intel and Nvidia's physical chips. For regulated industries like healthcare, finance, and defense, this architecture makes decentralized compute viable for workloads that would otherwise have to stay on a private cloud. Targon has built a technical stack that actually bridges the gap between permissionless crypto networks and strict enterprise compliance. That architecture sets incredibly high expectations for their commercial success. The founding team at Manifold Labs consists of Bittensor insiders, including the former senior software engineer and COO of the Bittensor Foundation. That pedigree helped them close a $10.5 million Series A in July 2025, led by OSS Capital. The cap table includes strategic angel investors, like the CEO of Shopify and founding Google board members. These are people with the exact Rolodex needed to introduce Targon to massive enterprise buyers. In March 2026, Manifold Labs published a technical research paper co-authored directly with Intel researchers. Intel doesn't host third-party research on its official community blog without internal review. They put their name on this architecture, proving the underlying tech stack is functional. But there is a strict limit to what this paper means. It is a research collaboration. No joint commercial product, no named Intel customer, and zero revenue attached to the announcement. Elite pedigree and Intel validation give Targon plenty of runway and technical credibility, but strategic capital and co-authored papers do not automatically translate into recurring enterprise revenue. Look at this matrix comparing Targon's marketed claims against the verifiable evidence. The central pillar holding up their valuation is a self-reported $10.4 million in annual recurring revenue. You will see that figure cited across multiple external analyst reports, but every single citation traces back to Manifold's own projections. There is no independent audit. There is no live public dashboard. The core metric is entirely opaque. If that $10.4 million is accurate, Targon has the strongest economic sustainability model on the entire Bittensor network. To evaluate if that revenue is real, we need to look at their most frequently cited customer, an AI companion app called Dippy. Market narrative often implies Targon owns Dippy. They don't. Dippy is wholly owned by a separate company called Impel Intelligence. As this flowchart shows, the actual subscription revenue from users flows exclusively to Impel Intelligence. Targon is simply a backend provider, collecting wholesale inference fees from Dippy. Furthermore, the widely repeated claim that Dippy has 4 to 8 million users doesn't match the data. Independent tracking points to roughly 1 million total Android downloads. Targon does not have a massive proprietary consumer footprint. They provide wholesale backend routing for a handful of internal tools in the Bittensor ecosystem. Manifold aggressively markets this confidential compute architecture to the healthcare, finance, and government sectors, but their public customer list looks very different. Weeks after publishing the Intel paper, there are 0 named enterprise customers in any of those regulated industries. To be fair, enterprise sales cycles in regulated markets are slow. It can easily take 12 to 18 months from the first conversation to the first invoice. But we have to weigh that against the alternative reality. The highly touted institutional sales motion might just not be producing results yet. Right now, the only verifiable customers on record, Dippy, Ridges, and Score, are all strictly internal to the Bittensor ecosystem.
Without a single named external enterprise buyer, Targon's commercial pipeline in regulated markets remains a theoretical narrative. It is not yet an investable fact. This matters because Bittensor operates on a supply threshold halving schedule.
By December 2029, the daily network subsidies that keep Targon running are projected to drop by 50%. Let's look at this decision tree. If the $10.4 million revenue claim is real and remains flat, Targon easily survives the subsidy drop. They hit structural break-even. If the true unverified revenue is actually closer to $1 or $2 million, that drop in network emissions triggers a subsidy trap. At that point, Targon faces the exact same failure state as other high-burn Bittensor subnets that rely entirely on network handouts to keep their hardware running. If you are evaluating Targon over the next 12 months, you need to demand specific leading indicators. The most critical one is an audited public revenue dashboard. You should also look for Manifold to open source the proprietary Targon virtual machine. Trustless hardware attestation loses its value if the orchestration code actually scheduling the workloads remains hidden from public review. Targon possesses the most durable, hardware-backed technical thesis on the network. But until that $10.4 million revenue claim is independently verified, investing your capital here remains a calculated leap of faith.